Hi everyone, and all you Fanuc Robot Guide programmers wanna be. Alright, in the previous tutorial I promised that we're going to teach points in the next tutorial. That's fine. I happen to have a lot of free times on my hands today and I figured we should do that, right? Nothing should stop us. Okay, without much ado, before you can teach points, you must have a program. You should have a program. And you're supposed to teach points to the very motion statement lines in your program. And how do you do that? Right now, we don't have any program. We have not created any program yet. But for the purpose of teaching points, we will create a program today, right away. So what do you do to create a program? There are two ways you can create a program. You can write a program offline and upload it to the robot controller, to the teach pendant, to upload it to the teach pendant and run it on the program. That's if you're not using the PLC interfacing and all that. We're just talking about a teach pendant controller robot combination right now. So you can write your program offline and upload it to your teach pendant and run it on the robot, or you can write a program directly on the robot. I usually think that's a very clumsy way, which should only be used when you're troubleshooting or trying to do maintenance on your robot. But that's what we're going to do for now. We're going to write a simple program, a simple movement program on the robot. Good. Let's go. So to do that, you click on select on your teach pendant. If you click on select or F9 in the real life teach pendant is F9. So if you click on select or you click on F9, it takes you to the programs list. You have a lot of programs here. Programs that I have written are here. Programs that came with the teach pendant are here also. But we want to create a new program, a brand new program for the purpose of teaching points. So we go to create. We can name our program. On your teach pendant, you can opt for the keyboard on the teach pendant and use the keyboard to type the name of the program. Okay. Or otherwise you go through the clumsy way, but so create our program, optional keyboard. Good. Okay, so what do I write here? Right here in this case, I'm using the keyboard that's on my PC, but in the real life scenario, you would have a keyboard displayed across the teach pendant screen, which you can use to enter your program. So I'll just call this first because this is a first, or just call it teach point. Okay, that's fine enough. But I want this program to appear at the top of this on the list all the time. So maybe I should teach point a underscore teach point so that I can always find it and not have to scroll down too far to find it. And that be the case, I'll click enter to that program. So now we can write our programs. When you come here, when you come to this stage, you can enter points or you can enter instructions. You see? But in this case, we want to teach points, so we'll create points. As we go further in these tutorials, you find out what's the difference between this tab and the next tab, which is for entering instructions. Okay, but just know that when you want to create program statements that identify points in the program, you use the point tab, a new point tab. The other one is the new instruction tab. So the new point, if I click on the new point, I have already prepared statements that I can just select to enter instead of entering manually. I can select this statement, and I'm going to explain what this means. This means that this robot is going to move joint motion type joint motion. It's the first instruction of the program, and it's going to move with joint motion to point 1 at full speed. And when it gets to point 1, it's going to stop. So this is called the termination type. You could have a continuous termination or a fine termination. If it's terminating as fine, that means it's going to full stop when it gets to this point. But if that's a continuous termination, which you denote as CNT, I will show that in the next statement. It means you can have an age radius. In other words, the program, the robot TCP, tool center point, does not have to gate to this exact point. It can bypass it by navigating a radius and move to the next point that comes after that line. But in this case, it's going to get to point 1 and it's going to stop, even if it's for a moment, but it's going to stop before it moves to the next one. We'll show this. Okay, then the next line of command, I add another point and I say move continuous. Okay, so it's going to move by joint movement continuous. It's going to move to point 2 by joint motion to point 2 at full speed, but continuous 100. I'll change this to continuous 50. Okay, so continuous 50 would slow the speed at which it zaps past this point by about 50%. And then we go to, oh well, let's just add another point again. Let's add another point and show the linear motion type. The linear motion type, the linear motion type is denoted by L. So this is joint motion, this is linear motion. It's going to move in a straight line. In other words, all the joints of the robot are going to arrange themselves so that the tool center point moves in a straight line. The joint motion type will give you a quick movement, but it does not necessarily move the tool center point in a straight line. You see, it does not necessarily move the tool center point in a straight line, but in this linear motion type, tool center point will move in a straight line from wherever it was to point 3 by realigning all the joints, reorienting all the joints to allow that motion. So I was going to change this to 50 before. I was going to change that to 50, enter. Okay, and then this is fine also. Okay, so that's good. With this, the aim of this program is basically to teach you how to teach points. We are not going in detail about the types of motion and the instruction types and all the other vital elements that make your program beautiful. For now, we're going straight and simple to teaching points. So, just as a matter of styling, sometimes it's best to label your codes. Like you can say this P1 is home. Most times we call P1 home, right? And then, or if you're using position registers, which is something we'll enter into later, you could say PR1 is home also. But let's leave it as it is now. Let's not complicate things first for you so your brain doesn't start to blow. Okay, so this is point 1 rather, P1. We can teach at P1 simply by engaging the shift button. Engaging the shift button. You see that? It's engaged. I either click it down here or I press the shift button on my PC, but in the real life scenario, you just have to press down on the shift key, okay, and then you touch up. At the time you're doing this, make sure on your teach pendant, you should make sure that your cursor, which is this black box here, is a cursor, is on the number and not on any of these elements. Make sure it's on the number. So at that point, you can click touch up. Position has been recorded to 0.1. So the TCP, the tool center point, which is the immediate position where the tool tip is right now, has been saved to P1. So now we are going to jog the robot, still holding down our shift key. We'll jog our robot to another point. Let's say we move in the positive Y. Now there's an error there, and that error there occurred because we are not in the world. We're not in the world frame, so we're going to change our coordinate system to world. Okay, so now we'll shift it, move back, reset my errors. The problem with this robot guide. Give me a minute, let me take this robot back to where it was. Is the thing with robot guide, you move out of range and then you have errors thrown at you. Okay, so this error should clear out now. Fine, the error clears out. Now we've took the initial point, so we'll teach the new point and move again, and good, that's in the positive Y. Now move back, this is X, move back in the positive Y. Okay, let's save that second point as shift, touch up, and let's move back, and let's move to linear to some point in negative Z. Stop it there. Okay, move to negative Z, and again we touch up. Note something, that the moment you were using joint motion type, your speeds were given as 100% percentage override of the overall speed. But the moment you came to use the linear motion type, the speed format changed. Now it's 100 millimeters per second. We could raise it to 200 millimeters per second, or 500 or 1000, depending on what the maximum speed of your particular robot is. Well, it's best to stay within a safe speed, and especially when you are just programming your robot and it's not running in production mode yet, it's good to use a lower speed override. For instance, I can reduce this to 10% speed override and reduce this to 10% speed override as well. Okay. Okay. That should work. That should work fine. Now we can go to see our program work. Go back to the beginning here. Put your cursor back to the beginning, and now you can, holding down shift, you click forward. See, it moves. That's 0.1. Now it moves to 0.2. It moves to 0.2, and then it moves to 0.3. Now notice how the robot behaved. It stops at 0.3. Now let's move it again. If you move it forward, notice that it stops. It stops first, and then it moves back. Well, at 0.2 it doesn't stop, it cycles through. It cycles through, and it goes to linear motion to 0.3. So basically that's how to teach a point, and using forward you can run your robot through your points. You can also move backwards. If, say, this program was here, you can move backwards through the point, but I I often don't encourage, because if you have a complicated program, backward could get things pretty confusing for you. So most times I prefer to move forward. Feel free, ask any questions. There are things I might not have covered here, which you can explain as usual. So ask any question that comes up in your mind when you watch this video all over again. Okay, it's okay. Enter, yes, and forward cycle through. Turn this off. Okay, so it's clear. Then cycle through the point 3. All right, so that's basically a very simple example of how to teach points. That's a very simple example. As you go further, you might see these being applied in subsequent programs. I hope you remember how it works. Thank you, and as usual, have fun using RoboGuide. Bye.